Did Jesus really exist? Today we look beyond the Bible to examine non-biblical accounts that shed light on the historical Jesus. Our journey begins in the heart of the Roman Empire, a civilization that shaped the course of Western history for centuries. Towering columns, bustling forums, and grand amphitheaters once filled the landscape, echoing with the voices of senators, soldiers, and citizens. Rome was not just a city, it was the center of a vast empire, stretching from the windswept coasts of Britannia to the sun-baked sands of Egypt. In this world of power and intrigue, stories were written that would echo through the ages. Among the chroniclers of Rome's glory and turmoil stands Cornelius Tacitus, a historian renowned for his sharp intellect and commitment to objectivity. Tacitus was not merely a recorder of events, he was a keen observer of human nature and the shifting tides of power. His works, especially the Annals, are considered some of the most reliable sources from antiquity, offering a window into the political machinations and social upheavals of his time. In his Annals, Tacitus recounts one of the most dramatic events in Roman history, the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD. The city was engulfed in flames for days, destroying homes, temples, and monuments. Panic swept through the streets as families fled the inferno. In the aftermath, suspicion and fear gripped the population. Emperor Nero, seeking to deflect blame from himself, accused a small, misunderstood group, the Christians, of starting the blaze. This accusation would have far-reaching consequences for the fledgling faith. Tacitus, with his characteristic precision, records, Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of Pontius Pilatus. This passage, written in careful Latin, stands out as one of the earliest non-Christian references to Jesus. Tacitus's words are not just a passing mention, they are a deliberate acknowledgement of a historical figure whose followers were already making waves in Rome. This direct reference by Tacitus confirms the crucifixion of Jesus, under the authority of Pontius Pilate, aligning closely with the accounts found in the Christian Gospels. For historians, such independent corroboration is invaluable. It bridges the gap between religious tradition and secular history, grounding the story of Jesus in the political realities of the Roman world. It is important to note that Tacitus was no friend to Christianity. He viewed the new sect with suspicion, even disdain, describing their beliefs as a pernicious superstition. Yet, despite his personal bias, he does not shy away from recording the facts as he understood them. This objectivity lends even greater credibility to his testimony, as he had no motive to embellish or support the Christian narrative. Tacitus's account was written just a few decades after the death of Jesus, at a time when eyewitnesses and their immediate descendants were still alive. This proximity to the events he describes makes his record especially significant. In a world where myths and legends could easily take root, Tacitus's careful documentation stands as a crucial piece of historical evidence. Amidst the chaos and grandeur of ancient Rome, a new faith was quietly taking root. The followers of Jesus, often meeting in secret to avoid persecution, shared stories of hope and redemption centered on a crucified man from Judea. Their gatherings were small, their resources few, but their conviction was unshakable. Against the backdrop of imperial power, the message of Christianity began to spread, carried by ordinary people who believed they had witnessed something extraordinary. The words of Tacitus, preserved through centuries of turmoil and change, offer us a rare, independent confirmation of Jesus' existence and execution. These ancient manuscripts have survived fires, wars, and the passage of time, allowing modern scholars to piece together the story of early Christianity from sources outside the Bible. Tacitus's testimony is a bridge across the ages, connecting us to the world of the first Christians. Through the eyes of Tacitus, we glimpse the early Christian community, persecuted, misunderstood, yet steadfast in their beliefs. Their resilience in the face of adversity would become a defining feature of the faith, inspiring generations to come. The story of their struggle and endurance is woven into the very fabric of Roman history. Tacitus's testimony stands as a powerful reminder that the story of Jesus was not confined to the hills of Judea, but reached even the heart of imperial Rome. His words echo through the centuries, inviting us to explore the intersection of faith and history, and to consider how a single life could leave such an indelible mark on the world. Next, we turn to Josephus, a Jewish historian whose works have become invaluable to our understanding of the ancient world. Living in the 1st century, Josephus was not only a scholar but also a witness to the turbulent times in Judea. His writings offer a rare, non-Christian perspective on the events and figures that shaped early history, including Jesus of Nazareth. In his monumental work, Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus provides a detailed account of Jewish history, culture, and notable personalities. Among these references he includes several passages that mention Jesus, which have sparked centuries of scholarly debate and fascination. One of the most discussed sections is the Testimonium Flavianum. In this passage, Josephus describes Jesus as a wise man, a teacher who attracted both Jews and Gentiles, and someone who performed remarkable deeds. While some scholars argue that later Christian editors may have altered this text, most agree that it contains a core reference to Jesus that likely originated with Josephus himself. Even if we set aside the debated Testimonium, Josephus makes another significant mention. He refers to James, the brother of Jesus, who was called the Christ. This brief but direct reference is widely accepted as authentic and provides independent confirmation that Jesus was a real historical figure, known to his contemporaries. These references, though not extensive, are crucial. They offer a glimpse into how Jesus was perceived outside of Christian circles, and they help corroborate the existence of Jesus from a non-Christian perspective. Josephus's accounts are often cited by historians as some of the earliest and most important non-biblical evidence for Jesus' life. As a Jewish scholar, Josephus was careful and methodical in his writings. He could not ignore the growing influence of Jesus and his followers, whose movement was rapidly spreading throughout the Roman Empire. His observations, though measured, reflect the impact that Jesus had on the society of his time. Ultimately, Josephus's accounts remind us that the story of Jesus is not just a matter of faith, but also a part of the broader tapestry of human history, one that continues to intrigue and inspire scholars and seekers alike. In Bithynia, Roman governor Pliny the Younger wrote to Emperor Trajan about the Christians. Pliny describes their devotion to Christ, whom they worshipped as a god, meeting before dawn to sing hymns. His letter, intended for the emperor, offers a vivid glimpse into early Christian worship and belief in Jesus' divinity. Pliny's puzzlement highlights the radical nature of this new faith. Just decades after Jesus' death, his followers had spread across the empire, forming vibrant communities. Pliny's words, though skeptical, provide further confirmation of Jesus' impact on the ancient world. Back in Rome, Suetonius, biographer of the Caesars, mentions disturbances among Jews instigated by Chrestus. Many scholars believe Chrestus is a misspelling of Christus, referring to Jesus. The expulsion of Jews from Rome under Claudius, linked to unrest over Chrestus, is corroborated by other historians. Suetonius, uninterested in theology, still records the early Christian presence in Rome. His brief mention shows that Jesus' teachings had reached the empire's core within decades. Even in passing, Suetonius' account highlights the far-reaching impact of Jesus' message. Lucian of Samosata, a 2nd-century satirist, mocked many beliefs, including Christianity. In the Death of Peregrinus, he refers to Christians' devotion to the man who was crucified in Palestine. Lucian ridicules their willingness to suffer for their faith, yet confirms Jesus as a crucified founder. His satire, though dismissive, preserves valuable information about Jesus and early Christian beliefs. Lucian's writings show that Christian ideas were widespread enough to attract public attention. Even mockery in this case serves as indirect evidence of Jesus' historical presence. The Babylonian Talmud, a cornerstone of Jewish scholarship and one of the most influential texts in Jewish history, contains scattered and often enigmatic references to Jesus, known in these writings as Yeshu. Compiled between the 3rd and 6th centuries CE, the Talmud is a vast collection of rabbinic discussions, legal debates and stories that reflect the intellectual and spiritual life of Jewish communities in ancient Babylonia. Though these passages are frequently polemical in tone, they nonetheless acknowledge the existence of Jesus and the circumstances of his death. One of the most striking statements appears in the text. On the eve of Passover, Yeshu was hanged. This phrase, while brief, is loaded with historical and religious significance, hinting at the tensions and interactions between early Jewish and Christian communities. The Talmud offers a unique and sometimes critical perspective on how Jewish scholars viewed Jesus and the events surrounding his death. These discussions were not merely academic, They reflected real concerns about identity, tradition, and the boundaries between Judaism and the emerging Christian faith. Rabbis debated the meaning of Jesus' actions, his teachings, and the impact he had on their own communities. These references, though controversial and often debated by historians, confirm that the story of Jesus was not confined to Christian circles alone. Jewish scholars were aware of his life and legacy, and they grappled with how to interpret his story within their own religious framework. The Talmudic passages became a point of discussion, and sometimes contention, both within the Jewish world and in later interfaith dialogues. The Talmud reminds us that Jesus' life unfolded within a specific historical and religious context, a world shaped by Roman rule, Jewish law, and the hopes and struggles of a people seeking meaning and survival. His story, as seen through Jewish eyes, is part of a larger tapestry of faith, conflict, and cultural exchange. In this way, Jesus' presence left a mark not only on Christianity but on Jewish tradition as well, echoing through centuries of scholarship, debate, and memory. In ancient Syria, Stoic philosopher Mara Bar-Serapion wrote a letter to his son, reflecting on wise men unjustly killed. He mentions the wise king of the Jews executed despite his teachings, lamenting the consequences for the Jewish people. Though Jesus is not named, the context strongly suggests this is a reference to him. Mara's letter, written after the destruction of Jerusalem, sees Jesus' death as a profound injustice. From afar, Mara recognizes the far-reaching impact of Jesus' execution. His words show that Jesus' legacy resonated far beyond Judea. Across Roman, Jewish, and other ancient sources, the existence of Jesus is confirmed time and again. These independent accounts, each with their own perspective, converge to paint a compelling portrait of a historical figure whose life changed the world. For more explorations into history and faith, subscribe to Heavenly Stories.